it's Tanya with Red Cardinal Crafts, and I'm here today to teach you guys how to do some knit and purl. Now, I've done a dishcloth pattern before, and I showed that to you guys years ago, back when we lived in Bermuda. That was many years and many moves ago. We're now in Calgary, and as you know, currently we are all stuck inside our houses because of the coronavirus, so I thought I would do this video for you guys today. I'm just using some Red Heart Super Saver yarn. I have my Clover knitting needles. These are bamboo, and it's size 4.5. You can use any size. I have these other ones. I have a 3.5, a 4, 3.75, but these are the ones I chose to use today because they're my bigger ones, and it might be easier for you guys to see. All right, I'm just gonna zoom in here a little bit, and you can use any type of yarn for this. I suggest something just sort of plain like this, nothing too floofy or anything, because it'll just be hard to learn with. All right, when I cast on my stitches, sometimes I will knit them on, sometimes I will just wrap them around my finger like this and just slip them over the needle. I just find it's the fastest way. So I just wind it around and place it on the needle. So I'm just gonna do, let's do 10 stitches. It'll just be enough. I'm not really knitting a thing today. This is just more to show you how to do this. Okay, so I have 10 stitches. Now, what I'm going to start off by doing is just knitting, just a little refresher course for you guys, just in case we forget how to do the knitting. All right, when I hold my yarn, I do this and I wrap it around. And like I said in my other video, you guys can just do it like this and hold it in your hand and then knit. But I'm just gonna, I just go in like this with my 3 fingers, wrap it around, these 2 fingers come down, and there we go. I don't know. I just, for some reason, I just started holding it that way, and now that's just how I do it. Okay, so make sure your cast on stitches all have their little bumps hanging down the bottom here. I'm very technical. I don't know. I just make up words. Okay, so your needle is going to go in underneath. It's going to go through that loop to the back of this left-handed needle. Sorry, I don't know how to do left-handed knitting, so this is a right-handed lesson. I'm going to wrap the yarn around that needle at the back. I'm going to give it a little push with my finger. We're going to come out to the front of the needle and we're going to slip it off the left-hand needle. Okay, we're going to do that again. And slip it off. Go in the loop, around, bring it to the front, and then slip it off. In, around, and slip it off. And I always hate the first row of knitting because you get this weird gap. But just pull it so that it's nice and taut, not tight, but just nice and taut up on that needle. Go around and pull it off. Same thing, pull it off. Now this last one, because I don't really hook it onto the needle, just hold it closed, wrap around, and then take it off. All right, so we just did a row of knitting. Okay, we're gonna keep knitting for a couple more rows just to get the practice of it, okay? So I'm just gonna go a little bit faster, in, around, and off. Make sure you're knitting from the ball of yarn and not the tail. All right, and when you're just knitting like this is called garter stitch. But once we start doing some knit and some purl, I'm just working on the 3rd row here. Once we start doing knit and purl, it's called stocking it. stockinette stitch. There we go. Stockinette. I'll be okay. I've been in my home for days. Okay. There we go. And I just want to do a few more rows just so you can see the difference once we get doing the purl. So I'm just doing the 4th row here. And don't panic if you're still in your 1st row, just hit pause and just take your time. Okay, so with knitting, whoop, you hold on to your needle. Okay, so with knitting, you go in, if you're looking at the loop this way, you go in from the left and you go in behind your left-handed needle, right? And then you bring your yarn around like this. With purl, you're going to come in from the right and you're going to stay on top of this left-hand needle, okay? So knitting, you go this way. Purl, you're going to go this way and stay on top. You're going to bring your yarn around, and this feels really weird at first. I personally, I hate purl, but it's just something we have to learn. Okay, so now instead of with knit, you go around like this. With purl, we're going to go this way and around. Okay? So knitting, you go into the left and around the needle when it's in the back. Now we're coming in from this side and we're going to make sure your yarn is on top. You're going to go in between the needles and wrap around. And then you're going to give a little push down and it's going to go in behind and then pull it off. Okay? Do another one. In from the right, around, go down underneath and pull it off. And that's purl. I find I can't get my hands to go as fast with purl as I can with knit, and it's just practice. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the purl stitch, but we're doing it. Okay, we'll go in from the right, we'll go around and pull it off. Around, and I use my thumb all the time just to sort of help me out and give it a little nudge. Just give a little push off the needle. And then around and push it off. Now, we're going to do knit and purl. Now, because we just did purl, when we go again, we're now going to do knit. So you do a row of purl and a row of knit, and you can now see that it's indented. So let's just keep going. This next row is all knit. So do knitting all the way to the end. And once we get going, I can show you how we can tell what row you're on. Okay, so now we just did a row of knit. We're gonna flip it over and see how we have all the bumps coming along here. That's because we knit on the other side. So now we know we have to purl. Now, very careful, don't forget to move this yarn over, because see what happens? It's looped in here, and that makes it, that gives it an extra stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So don't knit into that. Make sure you're bringing your yarn over and just pull that down, okay? Because you don't want to knit into that loop or purl into that loop. Okay, so double check, make sure you have 10. All right, 10, and we're good. So make sure you're always pulling that yarn back down so that it's lined up properly. Okay, so again, we're going to purl. We go in from the right. Make sure you get your yarn over this way. We're going to go around and pull it off the needle. In from the right, go around, pull it down and off. In, around, down, and pull it off. In, around, down, off. In, around, down, off. And I'll be quiet now so I don't stress you out, because that's going to get annoying. Oh, and this is just great. I have a knot in my yarn. Okay, hang on. It's a brand new ball of yarn. So I'm just gonna pull this and make that really big so I can pull the entire ball of yarn through it. One moment, please. Just talk amongst yourselves till I get this fixed. And there we go. Either the knot is gone or I've made more. Okay, no, we're good. All right, and now I just have one last purl. Okay, and then it comes off, and now look at what you're doing. Oh my gosh, it's like a little Barbie skirt. Isn't that cool? So this is all your knit, and these are all your purl. Isn't that fun? And then this section was when you were just knitting, and then this is now knit and purl. So when you're looking at it and you see that it's the knit side, that's when you know to do your knit stitches. Unless you're doing a particular pattern and you're not supposed to do that. But you knit onto the knit sides and you purl on the purl sides. All right, there we go. Like that, and then when we flip it over, remember that crazy loop is going to be there, so make sure you pull it down so that it's not in the way. And double check the amount of stitches you have. And we'll do one more row of purl. Oh, this yarn is so squeaky. And there we go. How cool is that? Now you can like make sweaters and things. I love that. It's very satisfying when you figure out the knit and purl. Okay, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna do knit 2, purl 2. You may have heard that term before, and that's all it is. You're knitting 2 and you're purling 2. Okay. Make sure you're not knitting from your tail. So your yarn is here. So I'm going to knit the first 2 stitches. Knit 1, knit 2, and now we're going to bring our yarn in between the 2 needles and around to the front. Okay, so we just knit those 2. Your yarn is back here. You're going to bring it through to the front. Remember, because we have to purl in the front. So bring it around. And this is how you would do like the sleeve of a sweater or something. So we've just purled 2 stitches. We're going to bring the yarn around the back again. We're going to knit 2. Knit 1, knit 2. Bring your yarn around to the front again. And we're going to purl. Take it around to the back, and we're going to knit. Now when we started this row, we started with knit. We did knit 2, purl 2, and so you can see the bumps for the purl. So knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, knit 2. Now we started with knit, and we ended with knit. So now when we go around to the other side, make sure you get that loop down out of the way. Now you can see that the bumps here are raised, these ones are set in. The bumps are raised, these are set in, the bumps are raised. The bumps are raised because we just knit on that side. So now we have to purl. So this row, you're going to do purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, knit 2. So we start with the purl. And now we have to do knit. So we're going to bring our yarn into the back. And we're going to knit 2 stitches. We're going to go around to the front again. We're going to purl 2 stitches. Take it to the back, knit 2 stitches, bring it around, and we're going to purl. All right, now turn your work around and look at what you have. Okay, so now we're going to do knit. You can see that these are knit stitches. There's your purly bumps. Okay, so we're going to knit the first 2 stitches. So when you're looking at the front of your work, you're going to knit, purl, knit, purl. When you're looking at the back, you're going to purl, knit, okay? So we're going to knit these 2. Bring your yarn to the front, purl the next 2. Bring your yarn to the back and knit. Yarn to the front, purl, yarn to the back, knit. Okay, you're going to see it in a few minutes. Okay, now we're going to purl. So make sure your yarn is set up properly. So purl the first 2, knit the next ones, purl, knit, and purl. It helps too if you don't have a yarn that's really slippery. And you can start seeing the little dents. See that? Isn't that cool? Okay, what I'm going to do for a minute is just show you. Let me just grab another ball of yarn. Let me make sure I've got the right size needles. 4 and a 4. Okay, let me show you. I just have this little scrap of cream color yarn. All right, let me just cast these on. Again, I'm going to do 10 stitches. Now with knit and purl, it ends up being like a stretchy kind of cuff, if you will. So if you're just getting started on your first row and you're doing knit and purl to begin, like you're doing a cuff of a sweater, you're going to start off with this first row of doing knit and purl, okay? So we're going to do 2 knit, bring your yarn forward, and we're going to do 2 purl. Because if you do a row of knit, it's just going to basically lock in those stitches as knit, and it won't be as elastic, if you will, if you're doing the knit and purl. So I'm doing 2 purl. And the first row is always hard, I find anyway. I just find the yarn is just kind of all over the place initially. Alright. Okay, so we did knit and purl. I'm coming back. And I'm looking at my bumps, and I've got bumps to start off with, so that means I'm starting with purl. And let me do a few rows of this, and then I'll show you what it's going to look like. Okay, so I am back. And it's only 10 stitches on here, but you can see now how it's doing like a ribbing effect. Isn't that cool? And on the other side, it looks like that. Isn't that awesome? I love this. So that's how you do like the cuff of a sweater. So yeah, now to cast off, to get this off your needle, you're gonna knit the first one onto this needle. You're going to knit the second, because we're on a knit section here. We're going to knit the second one. You take the first one and you loop it over that one. Now you're down to one on here. I'm going to bring the yarn forward because the next 2 stitches are purl. So I'm going to go in, do a regular purl stitch, and then I'm going to just move my yarn out of the way for a minute. Take that stitch off. I've got another purl one. So I'm going to purl, get my yarn out of the way, and I'm going to loop that over the other one on the needle. Now we have 2 knit stitches. So I'm going to knit, take it off, take that loop over the other one. We got another knit stitch, knit it, take the first one that's on the needle, loop it over, leaving the 1 stitch on the needle. Now we have 2 purl stitches. I just take my yarn out of the way for a minute. Loop it over. We got another purl stitch. Loop it over that other one, and then we have 2 knit stitches. Knit one of them. Pull that loop over, knit the last stitch, and we're gonna take the other stitch and loop it off. Now you're left with 1 loop here. You're gonna trim your yarn. I'm just gonna stretch this out a little bit so I can put that last little piece of yarn through there, and we're gonna pull. And there, we made a cute little square. How fun is that? So that is how you purl, that is how you knit and purl. And there you go. So I hope that was a good little lesson. I hope that gives you guys something to do today. I will be back with another video to show you how to knit on double pointed needles. That means it doesn't have the end here. It's actually pointy at both ends, and we're going to knit using 4 needles. So get ready for that one. That'll be fun. I hope you guys are good. I hope you're safe. I hope you're washing your hands. We're going to get through this whole thing, and we're going to do it by doing crafts and keeping ourselves busy and entertained. All right, so I hope you guys are good, and I'll be back with some more videos soon. All right, take care, guys. See ya.